My very first job was actually working in the Odeon cinema in Newport, selling ice cream, which was pretty hideous actually, wearing like the shortest little nylon uniform you've ever seen. You know, it was just, I couldn't even bend over, I could hardly hold the tray up. So, you know, and I couldn't add up either, so all the ice creams were like, I don't know, 13p or something, and then I had to add something else on that was, 9p. It was all too much, really. Not good. And then I was shipped off to secretarial college. So I learned to type and do shorthand, and of course back in the day, talking late 70s, that was great because, if you could do things like that, then, the world was your oyster really. There were so many jobs available. You could go and work for any company you like really, because they always needed typists and shorthand. So, so that's how it all started really, with that.
And then you went on to fundraising.
So the first job I got after leaving the college, was working for Scope, which then was called the Spastic Society actually. Oh, I know, can you believe it? But anyway, now it's Scope. So I went to work for them, and I was a fundraiser, and we used to organise film premieres, very big balls at places like Grosvenor House and the Hilton on Park Lane, all sorts of fantastic events, and it would always involve celebrities of some kind. So, the late Roger Moore, Liza Minnelli, people like that, Tom Selleck I met, at all these events and things. And then there's little old me there selling raffle tickets or something, that would be the usual thing. But it was a very good experience. Yeah.
Brilliant. Yeah. And you were a punk at the time?
Well, I was really more of a goth.
Okay.
I was more of a goth than a punk actually, yeah. But I did like all that. So after having done the fundraising, I wanted to make some more money because it was very badly paid. So I went into advertising, which was a massive mistake actually. And it didn't suit me at all. The company I was working for, they were just absolutely hideous. My boss, she wasn't my direct boss, but she was a Virgo, very anally retentive, so exactly the same as me. But it was bonkers, it was very, very hard to work with her. So I wanted to get out of there about 2 days after I got in there. So I was constantly looking for a job. Couldn't really get anything because there was no time to go for interviews. So in the end I decided, well, what do I like doing? Let's just do something, I've got to get out of here. So I thought, well, I've always liked making clothes. I used to make a lot of my own clothes, because I couldn't afford to go and, buy sort of gothy stuff, really. Stuff was very expensive in those days, so I was always getting second-hand things, customising them. So I just went in one day and said to them, right, I'm leaving. Oh, really? What are you going to do? I said, well, I'm going to set up my own fashion business, and that was it. So I did that. And, I did that for about 2 years. Hooked up with one of the creative guys at the ad agency. His daughter was an artist. She wanted to do something. So I said, well, look, let's get together. Let's see. So we just started printing fabric, sewing stuff up. It wasn't that well made, I have to say, but it was okay. And we were selling it on Camden Market, Greenwich Market. And we made some stuff for Alison Moyet for Top of the Pops, because I just started approaching, famous people to see if they'd like us to make any clothes for them. I mean, it was a bit cheeky, really. And then I just thought, well, I'm not making enough money on the market, so let's go to Harrods and see if they'll buy it. And they had a section called Zone 1 or Zone 2 or something, where they had new designers in there. So I just went in with a battered old suitcase with all the clothes. Leanne, the girl I work with, she just sat down in the cafe. She said, I can't. She said, I haven't got the nerve. I said, well, we're here now. So I went up and they looked at the stuff and said, oh yeah, fine. Well, we'll have 10 of those. We'll have 8 of those. And I was like, right, okay. So I've got to go and make all these now. So that was great. And so that was that.
But you didn't hang around, did you? A little stint in advertising?
Well, did my advertising, which wasn't good. Worked for a magazine. I was selling advertising space on that really. That didn't last too long because the magazine went under, so nothing to do with me, I don't think, but hopefully not. And then after that, and then I was looking around again, thinking, you know, what else can I do? What's available? And there was a job advertised in the Ham and High, which is our local paper, for someone to run a theatre. So I thought, well, I've always loved the theatre, so that would be a good shot. So I went and met them. Was very upfront, said, look, I haven't done this before. And the money was terrible. I mean, it was really terrible. It was about half as much as I was earning on the magazine. But I thought, well, I'll say to them, look, give me 3 months. If you feel that I'm no good, then obviously I'll leave. That'll be fine.
You were busy running a theatre, but let's fast forward to 1999. What happened in 1999? You discovered the web, and how did that come about?
I discovered the web, yes. I'd been temping actually for a legal charity in London. I'd meant to have been there for about 2 weeks or something, but I was there for 5 years in the end. And they were having a website built. So it was the very early days, really. And nothing seemed to be happening with this website, and couldn't understand why. So I thought, well, let's have a look at it. We had some money available. There was a charity called the Joseph Rowntree Trust that had given us some money. So I thought, well, you know, I'll talk to them, get a little bit of an insight into this. Spent a few hours or half a day talking to one of these web people, and I just thought, this sounds really fascinating. I think this is what I'll do. So literally, so got home that night, said to my husband, right, I said, you know, I've handed my notice in. He said, what are you going to do? I said, oh, well, I'm going to be a web designer. I said, oh, right, okay. Well, I'm not quite sure what that is. Anyway, I just did some HTML courses, did evening classes, and sort of basically taught myself, really. So it was a bit of a steep learning curve, I have to say. But the very first website I designed was the charities, because what was good, I realised why nothing was happening was because, of course, the charity had not given the web designer any content. So they didn't know what was supposed to go on there. Now, having worked there for 5 years, I knew exactly what should be on there. I had access to all the brochures, all the imagery, etc., etc. So I was able to sort of go away and do that. So that was my very, very first job, and I think they paid me £2,000 for that. So it wasn't too bad, actually. At the end of the day.
Back in 1999,
I
it's quite a
know,
lot of money,
it was
isn't
quite
it?
good, yeah.
And then you had to come up from, you moved up from London to Cambridge, so was that difficult, and how did you re-establish yourself once you got here?
Well, what I did was actually I set up a networking group. So, because there was only one other, there were very few networking groups back then, and this is like 15, 16 years ago. There was one, the CBN, which was the Cambridge Business Women's Network, but they used to always meet in the evening, and it just wasn't really very convenient for me because I had a young son and couldn't always get out at night. So I thought, well, you know, there's nothing in the day, why don't I set up a lunchtime one, which I did. And we started off actually in a little restaurant on Mill Road, and I just went in to see them and said, look, this is what I'm thinking of doing. But I said, I don't know how many people will come, you know, or whatever, would you be interested? I don't know how it's going to work, you know, because we were going to have, I think we had sort of 2 courses or something, so it was trying to negotiate all that. But anyway, it worked out really well actually, Cambridge WIBN. And the very, very first event we had, there were 35 women there. There was a big queue outside the restaurant, and I was looking out thinking, what are all those people doing out there? You know, they're going to sort of be, you know, in the way when if any of my guests arrive. And I suddenly realised, whoops, they are my guests. So I was a bit, you know. But that went really well, and I did it for about 8 years in the end, but it was a very good way to make contacts, obviously not just business contacts, but friends as well. So that's how it all started.
So what's been your biggest challenge with your business?
My biggest challenge would be finding the right people to work with. Very early on, literally about a year and a half into Catfish, I realised I wasn't going to be able to do everything myself, and also because although I knew HTML and things like that, there were much more complicated programming things I needed. And fortunately, the chap lived opposite me, who helped me out with some programming. I got stuck one day, knew he did something in computers, went over there, just said, can you help? He said, oh yeah, fine. Did it very quickly, charged me 50 quid, and I thought, well, that's good. So he's great, and Mike has been with me ever since. So Mike and I work on every project. But then I also needed to have other people, you know, like marketing people, logo designers, SEO, video photographers, but I don't want to, you know, I didn't want to just be recommending people off to anybody. I wanted to know that those people were going to be really good, so, you know, so that often, you know, we'll work quite closely on projects. But that's been really challenging for me, because it's very hard to kind of let go of things. You know, I like to have everything, you know, completely what's going on, everything goes through me, because after all, it's my reputation at stake. You know, if I recommend someone and it's not very good, then that doesn't reflect well.
So you're coming up for 20 years.
Yes, next year.
I know. Any plans to expand? What does the future hold for Catfish?
There's no plans to expand, and that's really because I like it the way it is. I know every project that goes out, you know, is as perfect as it can be. Nothing's probably ever perfect. I also like the designing. What I don't want is to have other people working for me, other web designers there, who I'm just overseeing, really, and then I just become an admin person, because that's just not, you know, I'm not interested in that, and I'm not very good at managing people, because I don't have much tolerance for that. I want it done properly, and that's it. So, you know, it's best to know your failings, isn't it, really? So, yeah, so, you know, so for me, the way it works is really good, and I have a really good team of associates, of which now, you know, Debbie, hopefully, and I will be working on stuff as well, because finding SEO people good SEO people is really hard. And that works much better. That works much better for me.
Okay. So she has a personal life as well, obviously, and she's become, if you follow her on Facebook, a bit of a gin aficionado.
A bit too
So
much.
tell us about Friday Night Gin Club. Are there any plans to follow in the footsteps of the Champagne Chick and become a gin genie, or a blog on it? But you do seem to have a bit of a thing going, don't you?
Well, yeah, too much of a thing, really, actually. I've got to cut down on it, because it's really bad now. I've got quite a bar of different gins, and it's just too tempting to be dipping in there. But I don't know, it all started, really. I think, I've never been a gin drinker, really, because I had a horrible experience on it when I was 19, and I never went near it after that. But I had a gin cocktail last year, and I just thought, God, this is really lovely. So then I just started trying some, and then Eden and I, Eden's my assistant that some of you may have met, she loves gin too, so we thought, well, why don't we just do this Friday night gin? And it's just, I don't know, it's just gone from there, really.
And it's wonderful, because you get little tasting notes and everything, and I've been buying on some of your recommendations. Yeah.
I know, but the last lot we did, because we've been trying to do dry September. So, well, there are gins out there. Well, they're not gins, obviously, but they're, you know, drinks that are meant to replicate gin or be, you know, as good an equivalent. Oh God, the last Friday was really depressing, actually. You know, we tried 3 of these things; they were awful. But I've had to put that up there, because I feel got to be fair about it. But then it's, I don't know, a bit awkward, isn't it?
Okay.
Snagging people's stuff.
And my last question, it has to be the obvious one. As a marketeer, I always speak about personal branding, and you have a very striking brand with pink hair. Was that a conscious thing that, you know, people recognise you, Jane Horwood from Catfish, with the pink hair, or is it just that you like pink hair?
It's just I like pink hair, and the hair's been dyed since I was 15, and it's been a lot of different colours, and it's been bleached, and it's been black, and I've had extensions in, and like dreadlocks and everything, you know, so it's been a lot of things, and just this is just the current. You know,
but instantly recognisable as Jane Horwood from Catfish Web Design. Thank you, Jane.
Thank you.